Hey, welcome everyone to the Architect Marketing Institute live stream. Today we'll be focusing on overcoming fee objections, which is such an important topic. If you feel uncomfortable when a client brings up your fees or pushes back and says, can you cut that? Or someone else is doing it, going to be able to do it cheaper, then today you're going to get some help from my esteemed partner here, Richard Petrie. How are you doing, Richard?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Eric. Good to see so many people on this mini training. So I'm looking forward to getting into it with you.
Yeah, so just to get started, please post a comment. Let us know where you're calling in from. And if you'd like, what do you hear from clients that, is pushing back on fees? What's the most common or the most tricky thing that you hear that you'd like to get some help on? So post that into the comments and we'll get going. And if you're on Facebook, please, I'll post something that you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and then you'll be able to give permission so we can see your name in our control room studio. Richard, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Eric. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. You have no slides? Okay, from me. Okay. Don't you hate it when presenters bumble about with their... I've been doing it every week, but I'll screen share. There you go. That's better. All right. And
all right. So I see Portland, Oregon, Toronto, London, Orange County. Jeff, yes, we will send a recording of this later to everybody who has registered.
All right. I've sorted myself out. Okay, so we'll get into this. The structure will be, we'll go through for 30 minutes. I'll give you the theory of handling fees and the structure of fee objections. We'll cover questions after about 30 minutes. There is a PDF that you can download or get access to and that'll be a summary of all the fee objection scripts that I've crafted out. There's about 54 of them. I'll go through some of them in the second half of the 30 minutes. So if you put in PDF, if you type PDF into the chat window, then we will send you a copy of that. And at the end, I'll run through quickly coaching that we do. If anyone's interested in getting coaching to win better projects, that's something we do. I'll give you a quick rundown on that. All right, just to give you context, well, what we do is help architects and designers win better projects, basically move them up the project pyramid, I suppose you'd say, take them through 9 steps. It's a bit strategy, then offers, and then promotions. Now, this what we're going to talk today will be one step within, handling converting people into, I guess, step number 6, where you're doing the research. All right. And so I use this process here, and we're actually going to dig into this step here. So it's kind of, I'm giving you a slice of pizza, really. And it's about adjusting the client's mind when they have certain things about fees. All right. Some key points. There's no script or technique that will work in every situation for every different client. Actually, one of the things that you need to be aware of, and one of the reasons for that is because probably, I'm going to say, in my experience working with architects for the past 10 years, only about 50% of the people who come to you have projects that really you should be entertaining. 50% should be told no on the first meeting. Either their budget's inadequate, the project's not really a good fit for you, or it's not something you want to be doing, or they're a pain in the butt, the client, right? And that seems to be at least 50% of the time. So even though you may get some people come up and they give you fee objections, if their fee objections are so strong that they're just cheap, then that's not a problem. You want to be able to handle those who can be handled, but you don't want to placate those who are really not worth winning. Okay. Second point, no doesn't always mean no. Objections have a structure, and we'll go through that. And usually there's only 5 to 8 regular objections that most people have, right? So there's not a million objections that you come up against. There's a small number. And because we should really know what they are, then you should be able to craft out responses to all of them. And you'll see when you get the PDF that I've put in about, I'm going to guess, about 12 different objections. And I've listed 5, 6, 7, 8 responses to each one. Okay, so that's how you should be thinking about it. Right. What do objections can mean? They can mean a few things, 3 things. They can mean yes, actually, right? An objection could be yes, because sometimes when they're giving you an objection, it's not actually an objection. It's actually they're actually saying yes, but they're diving in for more information. It can mean no, of course. An objection can mean no, and it can mean maybe. Right? So don't think that just because someone says no or pushes you back, it actually means no. Right? It might just mean I need more information. Okay. Reasons people object, they do it to delay sometimes. Sometimes they're playing a game. My wife's a classic for this. When she's dealing with tradespeople, she'll always say their fee is too expensive and ask for a discount, because half the time they give her a discount, right? I'll tell you a story about that a bit later. Sometimes they object to understand, and sometimes they object so as not to look too keen, right? Now, I know certainly when I'm looking at houses and I'm at an open home, I don't want to look too keen, and I will, if I really like it, I'll probably find some things to say which are negative, because I don't want the real estate agent thinking I'm really, really keen, right? So there's all these sort of games that go on. There are 3 different processes. There's the continue, the counter, and the collapse. We're gonna cover the continue and the counter today. All right. The collapse would take us a bit longer. It's more collapsing beliefs. Okay, let's have a quick look at the continue. Now, the continue is really for a light objection. And a little story I've got for you is, I've got a friend who's got a son called Connor, and he is a hyperactive kid. And you walking along wherever you're walking, and he'll go, "Oh, chocolate," and his father will go, "Keep walking, Connor." Right? So he just really dismisses the comment, because it doesn't need to be anything that special. It's just a naughty little kid making a comment that should be ignored. Right? My mother is a bit the same. She'll get an ice cream in a shop. "Oh, your ice creams aren't as big as they were last time." It's not something you have to deal with and and address. You just treat it as a keep moving, Connor, right? It's embarrassing. I don't even want the shopkeeper to address the different scoop. And as I said before, my wife will, "Can you do it any lower?" Now, I know, because she's been talking to me. I know she was going to say that, because she always does. And I also know that if the tradesperson was to say, "No, I can't, that's as low as I can go," she's still going to go ahead with them. It's just her game, right? So, carry on, Connor. Just there are many situations where you don't need to necessarily justify and stop and agonize over it. You just carry on, right? Okay, so now we're going to look at the counters, which is probably more what you're expecting. And these are countering objections, right? So a counter punch, or a response to a fee objection, is a powerful response that disarms the objection, right? Now let's assume it is an objection. We need a response that turns it round, ideally. Okay, now I want to give you some, I think, quite colorful examples, and then we'll get into architect specific examples. But the first one is Sheryl Sandberg. Now, I'm not sure if she still is, but she was the chief financial officer of Facebook. And she was at another big organization. Sorry, she was applying. Let me just see the quote. Okay, Red Adair. Okay, I'm going to go through a few. And Frank Lloyd Wright. So I'm going to give you some examples of all these. Now, this is Sheryl Sandberg here. They were offering her a job. I think it was at Facebook. She was working somewhere else, and she didn't want that. She didn't want the job. She was having an objection about, I don't know if I want the chief financial officer's job. I want the general manager's job. And the person who was talking to her said, look, when they offer you a seat on a rocket ship, you don't ask which seat, right? And this is in the early days of Facebook. And after objecting, and someone said that to her, she immediately went, good point. She took the job and she was there for quite a number of years. She might still be there, I'm not sure. Right? Good response. Like flipped her like that. Here's another one. Red Adair. Now, Red Adair is... Red Adair, they made a movie about him. He used to go and put out oil fire wells in at the ocean. So these oil wells are on fire. It doesn't seem to happen as much these days. And him and his team were chemical experts who, when it was costing these oil companies millions every day to not put the fire out, they would go in and charge astronomical fees, but they would put the fire out. So they'd pay him a lot, but the fire wouldn't burn for another 3 weeks, and it would save them 3 weeks of millions of dollars every day. And so when they'd say, gee, you're expensive, he'd go, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur. Now, it's a very good point, isn't it? And that's probably a quote that you could use, because it is more expensive to hire an amateur, right? And particularly if you've got examples. So good example there from Red Adair. And that's him there. That's the real guy. Okay. Boy Named Sue. Johnny Cash. Most of you have probably heard of the song. He sings a song, and I'll give you the story, and then I'll play the end of it, where the father. So what happens is the song's about this boy who's been given the name Sue by his father, who left him when he was a kid, and he's had to grow up his whole life being called Sue, and hasn't particularly enjoyed it because he's got bullied, he's got beaten up, he's got teased, and he then, the song goes on. I haven't got time to play the whole song, but the song goes on to say that, he runs into his father in this pub, in this bar, and he recognizes his father from a photo that his mother had on the shelf. And he said, right. He said, my name is Sue. How do you do? And they end up getting in a bit of a fight. It gets to a point where Sue wants to kill the father because of the grief that he's had his whole life because he was named Sue. Now I'm going to play the song. Hopefully you can hear it. Sometimes when you're doing these things, the songs don't always play with sound, but we'll see how we go, because it's worth hearing. It's funny and it's brilliant. Now I need to jump into my StreamYard. Present. Green share. There it is. Okay. Right, hopefully you can hear this. We're halfway through the song, but you'll get the idea. And Johnny Cash is playing this at San Quentin, a prison, to all the audience is prisoners.
I tell you, I fought tougher men, but I really can't remember when. He kicked like a mule and he bit like a crocodile. I heard him laugh and then I heard him cuss, and he went for his gun. I pulled mine first. He stood there looking at me, and I saw him smile. He said, son, this world is rough, and if a man's gonna make it, he's gotta be tough. And I know I wouldn't be there to help you along. So I give you that name, and I said goodbye. I knew you'd have to get tough or die. And it's that name that helps to make you strong. Yeah. He said, now you just fought one hell of a fight, and I know you hate me and you got the right to kill me now, and I wouldn't blame you if you do. But you ought to thank me before I die for the gravel in your guts and the spit in your eye, because I'm the son of a bitch that named you Sue. Yeah, well, what could I do? What could I do? I got all choked up and I threw down my gun, called him a pa and he called me a son, and I come away with a different point of view. And I think about him now and then, every time I try and every time I win. And if I ever have a son, I think I'm gonna name him Bill or George, any damn thing but Sue. I still hate this name. Yeah.
And the prisoners enjoyed that song, right? So let's just do a recap on what happened there on that in that song, right, with the boy named Sue. So the father names him Sue. He hates his father. They get in a fight in a bar. He's going to kill him, and he has to come up. The father has to come up with a pretty quick objection response to stop being killed by Sue. And so what he does is he reframes it. He said, "Look, I knew I wasn't going to be around. I had to do you the biggest favor I could do, which was name you Sue, right? Because I knew you'd either get tough or die." And you can hear in the song how he said, I came away with a different point of view. That one script changed the way Sue felt about his father. Didn't want to name his son Sue, but there we go. So a good objection response. Now here's another one, and this one's from Ronald Reagan, right? And Ronald Reagan, the situation here is, I'm not sure what year it was. Was it 1983, something like that? And anyway, the situation is that Ronald Reagan is going to be the oldest president in the US. He's running for president again, and he is up against Walter Mondale, who's quite a bit younger, and he knows, him and his team know that his age is going to come up. And so what they do is they script a response. Now, what you see here, can you see it, Eric? Are we on the right one here? Can you see the Mondale YouTube, or am I still on the old Johnny Cash one?
You're still on Johnny Cash.
Okay, so I just need to change my screen. And what we have is a presidential debate, and he's about to be hit with the question that he has to answer, because if he can't answer this, pretty much he's going to lose the election. All right.
You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
And that was it, right? That was it. What a brilliant response, right? What a brilliant response. They said he went on to win the election. They said that was the key moment. That was certainly one of the key moments in the whole election. You can see even Mondale laughing. And it completely dispowered. It sort of, every time they thought about age, everybody went back to that and thought, he's sharp enough for that. Maybe he can do the job. So critical point. All right. So what I want to do now is give you the structure of objections, just so you've got an example of how they are psychologically, work. Right? I'm finding that the old things. No. Yeah. Not coming up on my feed here. Just give me a. I have to cancel and go back in. There we go. Right, user error. Complete user error there. I was looking in the wrong place. All right. So to counter, you need your counter punch ready and rehearsed well in advance. Yep. Now, what you need to realize, language has structure, as you know, and an objection has two sides, right? Always two sides. Either when they refer to something, there's always a meaning, right? So they're saying this specific situation has this meaning. Okay. So what they are saying is, let's say your fees means, you have to reduce your fees, right? Those are the two sides, even though they don't say it like that. When you decode it, those are the two sides. Your fees are too high, therefore you have to reduce them, or therefore I won't go ahead. Your job is to say, no, my fees being at that level doesn't mean this. It actually means something else. So if you look at the red deer, oh, your fees are too expensive. No, well, professional fees don't mean my fees I've quoted doesn't mean that I'm expensive. They mean that I'm delivering greater value. In fact, amateur fees equals expensive because you'll end up paying more in the long run. Okay, so just have a think about that. The boy named Sue, right? The two sides were, by you naming me Sue, it made my life hell. And then the father's response was, no, by me naming you Sue, I made you tough and successful. Right? I was doing my job as a father. Can you see how by changing the meaning, it changes the objection? Right? Ronald Reagan, because of your age, that means you're too old. No, because of Mondale's age, it means he's too inexperienced. Right? You can change either side. You can change the right-hand side or the left-hand side. Okay. I won't go through that one. So in many cases, what we're talking about here is saying that fees are, your fees are expensive, right? Or the project cost is too expensive. Or the competition, there's lots of competition, so someone else is better. These are the type of things that people are saying, right? Now, there are a number of things you can say. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. You need, when it comes to fees, the most important thing you can do is convert the conversation away from fees and onto value, because fees is a very static thing. If I come in and quote $10 for a job and Eric comes in and quotes $8, and they go, well, Eric's $8. We have to go with Eric. You can't win on the fact that he's $8, because it's true. I am 10, he's 8, right? I've got to move the conversation away from price and I've got to move it on to something else, value, right? Now, just Eric's charging 8, I'm charging 10, but that doesn't talk anything about what's going to be delivered, right? So if Eric delivers something worth $8, he costs 8 and he delivers something worth 8. I cost 10, but I deliver something worth $20. I'm much better value. And that's where we've got to move the client's eyes off price and onto value. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And you really need to remember this saying, because this is the crux of, I guess, handling fee objections, right? Is it the cheapest design fees you want or the best value from this project? Would be a more specific way to say it. Look, are you just after the cheapest architect in town? Or do you want the best possible job done here? And let them answer. If they go, no, I'm just after the cheapest architect, you go, fine, okay, that's not me. Now, most people won't, when it's put this way, it's very hard. Most people won't say, I just want the cheapest architect, because that would be embarrassing. So they go, no, I do want the best value. You go, okay, great. Then we need to start looking at what constitutes value to you. Should we have a conversation around that? Yeah, sure. Okay. What is valuable to you? And you can sit down and you can extract what value is to them, right? Now you've moved it off price and you've moved the conversation to value.
Okay. Hey, Richard, you have a bunch of slides there. I don't know if you've been advancing them, because I know sometimes you've had it sharing one thing and you've been looking at another. Have you been changing slides there?
Yeah, I have been.
Okay. All right. So if you want to just back through those slides, because we didn't see them.
Right. Okay. Well, it was only really this. So I won't. This is the key point here. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. You got to move them off price and move the conversation onto value. That's right. When I go in full screen mode, it doesn't move forward, does it? Okay. We're not the cheapest architects. Right. Here's another one. Yeah. Well, you're right. If we're not the cheapest architects in town, but we're very busy. Why do you think that is? And they'll go, well, is it because you're good? And you go, yeah, that's right. And even though you've got them to answer it in some respects. We're not the cheapest architects in town, yet we're flat out busy. Why do you think that is? Right? And these guys who are cheaper, well, they're probably cheaper because they need the business. Why do you think that is? Right? If you're after the cheapest, now imagine this one, your fees are too high. Look, if you're after the cheapest architect in town, I can give you the name of a couple of really cheap architects. Would you like the numbers? Because now you're really moving the conversation as you're getting them to admit, or at least identify with the fact that they're after the cheapest. Most people won't be able to bring them. It's one thing to say your fees are too high. It's another thing to say I'm a cheapskate. They'll often back down on this. Okay. You can draw it out. You could draw it visually, right? If you've got if you like to do things visually, and I do. Your fees are 50% more, Mr. Petrie. Yeah, you're right. That is quite a bit. And they go, yeah, well, I mean, it's difficult to justify working with you. Is it? What, just solely because of my fees? Here's what happens, right? Here's what happened on my last project, right? We were able to, what we got here? 510 project build costs. Okay, so on the last, we've just finished a project which was very similar to another one that someone else had done, a cheaper architect. Their one cost $321,000 to build. Right, we built a similar building for $250,000. Right now, yes, we were 50% more expensive. Right, so that constitutes that little amount there. Right. But actually, the difference between us wasn't that. This wasn't the relevant factor. At the end, our clients were happy with that because that was the difference in the two projects. So, which is more important to you? Is it bringing a project on time or on budget, or is it this little thing down here? Right. And once again, we're moving the conversation off fees, which we can't win. If we're more expensive, we can't win that conversation, onto value. Right now, value can be a lot of different things. It could be how, maybe you're great at bringing projects in on time and on budget. Maybe you're great at designing projects which are worth more. Maybe you're great in commercial area, great at doing projects where you get full tenancy and, tenants are prepared to pay a premium because the design's so good. Right? Maybe you're good at return on design, where you renovate someone's house and it's worth more than what it cost. Let's say it costs $500,000 to renovate the house, and when the thing gets revalued, it's worth $1 million more. Right? That's value. Who cares if I paid the architect an extra $50,000 when the end product is valued at an extra $500,000 in value, right? We can win the value game. We can't win the price game. Okay, so here's one here, higher values. You do need to rehearse any responses that you have in advance. You will need to do that, and we'll go through some very specific ones now. What are we, 29? So we'll I do want to go through some on the PDF document that we're going to hand out, or that you can get, for those of you who have said PDF. Let's just go through some of them now. Once again, stop screen share, present screen share. That one, got it. Okay. So if you just type in PDF into the thing, you'll get this document, right? And it's got 54 different answers. So how much do you charge for a set of plans? Well, nothing, because I never do just set do a set of plans. I run a design process which consists of the following steps, right? You're asking for step 3 alone, which is like asking Steve Jobs for just a keyboard. I don't sell keyboards, but I'm happy to understand what you're wanting, right? Most people have had that question, how much for a set of plans, right? Or it's $9 million until I know what you really want. Can we spend a few minutes narrowing that down to help you get a lower, so I can give you a lower sort of estimation of what it might cost, right? What's another one? My builder can do design for free. Your builder sounds talented. He could probably also make you a suit, but would you want to wear that in public? Look, why do you think he doesn't charge for his designs? So you could use any one of these, right? Do you think he could ever charge for his designs and stop hitting nails? If he could, then he probably would, because it's a lot less physical. But he doesn't, because he's a builder who wants building jobs, so he gives design away for free. Now, if you get a person who's stuck on this and go, oh yeah, do it for free, don't forget, not everybody is your prospect, right? Only half the people who talk to you are genuine projects that are worth doing. Someone who's absolutely fixated on, you know, the lowest price or getting a builder to do it for free, let them get the builder to do it for free. You know, my builder told me to go to an architect to do a set of drawings so he can price. Right? Well, that's the tail wagging the dog. Right? He told you to come to an architect because pricing is step 4 and design is step 3. Right? I'd be happy to run you through all the steps of a successful project, starting at step 1, if you'd like. Right? X can do a design cheaper. A great design adds value. A poor design costs you. Right? Or this is the one, I guess, you know, what I was talking about value before. If you pay me $30,000 for a design and it makes your space worth $600,000, and you pay a cheaper designer $20,000 and your completed space is worth $500,000, would you still be happy to have saved $10,000? Right? All right. Now you guys can read through these. These are some really good fee objection scripts. So I'm pretty sure all of you should have typed PDF in, and if you didn't, you need to do that now. I just want feedback, guys. Here's one here. Jeff said, he said even more people wanted him. They figured he could. Did anyone type in some? I'm not sure if that's a. Oh, Jeff's got an ongoing one here. Okay, so just type in if you have any objections that you have. Type them in now. We'll quickly discuss them and see if we can come up with any. Jeff said a good friend who had a very good firm said he would not negotiate fees, but services. Right. Right. So like a Chinese restaurant, a la carte menu, there's a list of required services and a fee, and then a list of optional services and a fee. Right. And that's the other way of doing it, is you can, you know, I only want to pay this much. Okay. What would you like to take off? Here's all the services we've got. We've got to do these ones. These ones are, you know, are highly recommended, and these ones are, I suggest you do them, but they're optional. Which of those would you like to remove? And I'll tell you, you know, we can do less. So if they want to pay less, no problem. I'll deliver less. Okay. He said, okay, this was Jeff. He said even more people wanted him. They figured if he could command those high fees, he must be really, really good. And they wanted him even more. Yeah, that's the point. When you stand firm on your fees, it shows that you weren't overcharging in the first place. Right? One of the things that goes on in people's heads is, oh, if you're prepared to discount, then you must have been overcharging me before. Right? It's quite comforting as a client sometimes when you ask for a discount or something like that, and they go, no, that's the price. I can't do it for any less than that. I've already given you a good deal. And you're like, okay, I'm happy with that. I asked. Right? Okay. Right, here we go. Ryan says, I have a lot of people looking for a drafter, but I think your response that we provide design services rather than just a drawing is key. Yep. Yeah, that's it. You know, and you can outline, you show them a picture, because what I find is when you show them a visual and you say, here's the services we provide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what you're asking for is step number 3. Well, we're not I can't just give you just a keyboard. It's connected to the whole computer. We provide all of it. I don't rip things out and just do a set of plans. Charles Hefner, I remember that name. The musician from Las Vegas. Well, not musician, he's an architect, but I know he's into his music. Charles says, a past client told me that he got his design done 10 years ago for $15,000. Why are you charging $25,000 now? Yeah, wow. Why are you charging $25,000 now, Charles? Seems outrageous. That's one of those ones where it sounds like you're dealing with a very naive client. So a little bit of education probably wouldn't be too hard. Brian White says, what about when they talk down services from scope, but then that scope comes back at the end at a greater cost because of the impact of that time? Yeah, good question, Brian. They talk the services down from scope. So what you're saying is they're asking for less services to reduce the money, but then the scope comes back at the end at a greater cost because of the impact of that time. It's important to know and probably state with the client up front that if they're going to take various services out, they may, while they may be saving money up front, they may also be putting the project at some sort of risk, because sometimes you take things out and it doesn't always work out as well. You know, you should be doing those things, but we're taking them out. Just remind them up front, we can do that and hopefully it all goes fine, but the risk is on you. If we need to do certain things later on, or this causes problems with the project, the risk will be on you. And you just get an email and you get them to acknowledge that email. You need something to go back to later on because they'll forget. All right. How many people charge a flat fee versus time and materials? Well, people can type that in if they want to. Time and materials only. We used to charge a fixed fee, but all that does is result in your good clients subsidizing your disorganized clients. The thing is, you've really got to nail clients down, because you're right. There is no way a disorganized client should cost you money. Right. And the reason for that is you've got to, if you're going to do a fixed fee, you also need to clearly specify what the biggest risk is. The client, right? You need to specify that if you give them things that you want them to get back to you on, they have a certain amount of time to get back to you on them. And if they delay it or pause or stall, then it's on them. You can delay the project, or if there's additional costs that come from the delay, once again, it's on them. And that's the way it should be. That's common sense, right? So you have to specify everything that you want them to do, and the time expectations and all that type of stuff, and the consequences of them not being able to follow through and do it. If they're disorganized, that's fine. The project is more expensive. Right? And that needs to be somehow stipulated in the agreement. Okay. Jeff says, I work with one firm and found the richest clients are the cheapest. Not always, but sometimes, yeah. Bon Jovi wanted our firm to design a house for free because we could use designing him a house as marketing. Well, you give it a go, I suppose, don't you? But hopefully you didn't do that. Yeah, the funny thing is with that, Jeff, is that type of thing does happen. And we've got a lot of clients from New York who have, not them personally, but they've told stories of architectural firms, quite big architectural firms, who have designed skyscrapers for free. because they felt it was going to be good for their firm. Developers would ask them if they would do it for free, and some of them have said yes. It's not the way I do it, but I guess if you're a developer or if you're Bon Jovi, it doesn't hurt to ask. But even so, it's not very fair, is it? Right. Umberto says, I have lost a potential good client last week because she was insisting that I disclose fees, even though we didn't have a design, and even if I was proposing an initial discovery phase. And I told her that I guaranteed that even if I was not the cheapest architect in town, nevertheless, I'm not the most expensive. Well, this is a naive, once again, this is a naive client who, how can you talk about design fees when you don't even know what the job is, right? So if they insist that you should be able to give a price without even knowing what the design is, ask them what profession they're in. If they say they're an accountant, say, well, will you do my accounts? And I want you to tell me, what my fee will be, and I'm not going to tell you what my accounts are. It's ridiculous. So if they're that naive or that stupid, that's fine. They're part of the 50% who you should never accept as the client, right? You don't want to, and the reason for saying that half of these clients should never be accepted is, one, because it's true, and two, to stop you fretting when you have to say no, or when the client, rejects you because they're not prepared to follow a reasonable process, right? You shouldn't be taking on board everybody who wants to work with you for a multitude of reasons. Patrick says, we provide a fee estimation for the scope. We're on target. And the client's concerned our time billing be so high. They don't understand how it would take so much time to do the work. Since asked for time billing descriptions, right, which we provided, and they're still scrutinizing monthly, asking for discounts. We can't fully explain our tasks in limited descriptions. Okay. Here's one possible response for that, Patrick, and that would be infuriating and frustrating. Effectively, they're almost saying that you're ripping them off and all that type of thing. So this is a simplistic way of saying it, but sometimes a metaphor is the best way to get the message across. And it's like this. You explain, listen, when people hire us, they get to choose where they want to go, right? And this is like getting on a plane. If you get on a plane, you buy the ticket, and you can buy the ticket to anywhere. Once you get on the plane, you got to trust the pilot to fly the plane. If you don't trust the pilot to fly the plane, you shouldn't get on the plane, right? We're the pilot. And this actually works for people who are micromanagers as well, is no, you can't come in the cockpit and help us steer and play around with the dials and buttons, right? You get to choose where you want to go. You can sit in first class or business class or economy, depending on what you want to pay. But we fly the plane. We'll work out how we're going to get there. You work out where you want to get to, right? And that's almost a metaphor that needs to, it might work in this situation, right? Tricky, painful, that one. Stephen, fixed fee must mean fixed amount of work. I'm not signing on to be a design slave. That's exactly right. So that's right. And if they're disorganized, then effectively what they're asking you to do is do extra work, right? So that fixed fee is on the basis that you are going to be organized. You are going to deliver certain things at certain times. And it's on the basis that these other things happen. Maybe other suppliers, the engineer delivers this on time, and it can be conditional. It's a fixed fee on all these things working. If these things don't work, why should it be at my risk? I'm the architect. I'm not a bank. Right. Emily says we charge a fixed fee based on projected project hours. We clearly list in our proposal what we're going to do, and we include a list of additional services that they can add a la carte. Yeah. The only danger is where they go looking to, a lot of clients will expect you to add things and not charge for them. Or that's one danger, and it's important. I'll tell you what's really useful to have, and here's what we're going to be doing. What's really useful, Emily, is to have also listed, here's what we're not going to be doing, right? So you need, if you find there's a lot of things that come up during projects and you find that people are wanting you to do them for free, or they just cause pain and aggravation, state it in an agreement somewhere. These are what's included. This is what's not included. Somewhere where they've signed. And then you can go back to that later on and go, boom. It was clearly stated this is not included, right? Because what happens on the things that, excuse me, that fall between the cracks? You know, you can't list everything that you're going to do. There are some things that you will do, but you can't list everything. The stuff that falls between the cracks, which is a little bit grey, you need, you know, if it's grey and causes problems for you, list it that you're not doing it. Okay. It's a lot of comments. It's a good topic, isn't it? David Rudge, please, I seem to have all of these client types. How much are your fees for unknown design when they have not said what they want? Chicken and egg, therefore, no move till they sign up for an LCC and we know what is required. If not, go away. Right. So David is in our SIX+MAPS program, or was, and he obviously gets them to go for an LCC, which is, it's a pre-designed contract. So when we're coaching people, what we get you guys to do, and you're never in a situation where you're having to quote for design fees when you don't even know what the design is because the design comes after you've done the research, right? So we break it up into various stages, and we get architects to show the clients, here's the process, here's all the steps. And one of the steps in there is this pre-design research, which is a paid step, right? It's a paid step. It gives you a chance to go and do the research you need. And it gives you a chance to understand what some of the options are for the site. And it gives the client a chance to actually see the options and work out which option they want, which then allows you then to say, okay, based on that, here's what we're looking at, right? None of our clients give proposals without having done this pre-design paid research. And by the way, so on that, if you're interested in getting help to win better projects, please type in chat into the window. Just type in the word chat, and we'll get someone to contact you, and they'll set up a time to have a what's called a game plan call, where we'll look at your business, we'll review where you're at, and we'll give you how we would get you up to better quality projects, the process we use, and see if it's a good fit for you. Okay, so if you're open-minded and you're open to winning better projects, type in chat. Okay, there's a very noisy dog outside. Eric, have you got any, there's a lot more comments here, which I'm happy to go through, but have you got any other things that I've forgotten?
No, I think you've done a great job of addressing comments, and there are way more that are typed in. I just want to encourage all of you to keep typing in comments. Even after this, we'll be replying, to some of you privately afterward. And it's just great to have that discussion, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or on the YouTube channel. And if you do want the PDF, if you haven't already typed that in, that would be the 52 fee objection scripts that Richard showed part of. Then just type in PDF into your comments. And then here you can see on screen, type in chat if you'd like someone to reach out to you. No obligations, just we can see if possibly we can help you. If you're on this call and you've stayed on to this point, then we probably can, because obviously one of the things that we do help people with is dealing with fees, getting you in a position where you can charge premium fees, work with better quality clients, win more of your ideal project types, rather than things that are too small, too cheap. So how can you be more profitable by working with better clients and projects? That's our specialty. So we'll be happy to talk with you. So
I should just actually make another comment here that the thing about fee objections is if you get all the way through to the stage where you're delivering fees and then they say, oh, these are too expensive, really, technically speaking, if you're following a good process, that should never happen, right? Because that only happens when you've done all this work and then you hit them with fees at the end. I mean, there's a number of steps that the client should have to go through before that, so that a lot of this stuff is, pricing has been indicated. You've gone and done proper research. You have signaled your fees, and you've signaled the fact you're not the cheapest well in advance as part of your process for getting them to a point of finally quoting fees. When you're quoting fees, it should almost be fait accompli. So this exercise here really is what you need. This exercise in fee objection is what you need when you don't have a good sales process. But that said, it's very useful because I know this is a big issue, and I know most architects don't have a good sales process. Okay.
All right. Well, I think we've been on for almost an hour now, so I think we've probably reached a point that would be good to finish up. Please do add more comments, more questions, and type in chat or PDF. PDF if you want to get the scripts sent to you, and chat if you want someone from our team to reach out and just have a 5 or 10 minute chat, or it could be longer, 45-minute call, typically for really a serious discussion about how we could help you with our programs. We'll be back next week with another live stream. Do we have an idea what the topic is, Richard, at this point? Nope. Okay, we'll figure it out. And if you want to make some suggestions for things that you'd like Richard to cover in upcoming live streams, please post those in your chat as well. So we'll sign off shortly. And Richard, any closing comments?
Not really. Just if look, yeah, I do. Okay, yes. Closing comment. Out of 10, how good are you as an architect? If 10 is absolutely brilliant and 0 not at all, terrible, right? Out of 10. Now, for those of you who are at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, now I want you to ask yourself, where are your fees out of 10? Right? 10 being the highest you could possibly get, 0, down to 0, right? And where are the projects that you're getting? If 10 is a dream project, 0 is a terrible project, where would you be? So let's say you say I'm a 7 out of 10 architect in terms of my ability or the value I deliver, but my fees are 4 and my projects are probably 4. Okay, there's a gap there, right? There's a gap, and you're something's wrong, right? Your fees and the projects are not aligned with your ability or the value that you're delivering, right? So the next question is, do you want to do something about it? And for some of you, maybe, no, I'm retiring next year. Okay, fair enough. Even so, I'd probably still want to do something about it. But for those of you who say, yeah, I actually believe I am winning projects which are below the value I provide, I'm not being rewarded properly. If you want to do something about it, please do have a chat with us. This is what we help architects do, is raise their projects and raise their fees. We're very good at helping you do that. There's no reason, no different to someone. If I came to you, I'm not an architect, but if I came to you and said I was going to design my house myself, and you'd probably think, it's not a good idea, Richard. It would really be a much smarter idea. I know it would cost money to employ me, but actually you're going to end up better off. We'll probably design the house on time and on budget, which will probably be cheaper than what you will do, and it'll be a better job. You'll get far better, results from it. And it's the same with running a design firm. We can get you up to speed very quickly with winning better projects once we've helped you identify some specific project niches. So if you're open-minded and you're ready to move yourself up from sort of earning lower fees and working on lower projects up to where you should be, then just type in chat and we'll have a chat to you and help you out. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Eric.
All right. Take care. We'll be back with more next week. And please share your comments here, whether you're watching it live right now or in a replay, or we'll be reviewing them and be in touch. All right, take care.